Hello, good morning. My name is Christine P. Dawis, a librarian from Misamis Occidental Provincial Library Information Center, and I'm here today to discuss my assigned topic about Understanding Electronic Information Systems for Reference by Kathleen M. Clougel. For my table of contents, first is the brief introduction and historical background. Second is the Internet terms and concepts. Third is the proliferating resources, Internet solutions. Fourth, Internet challenges and standard. Fifth, public information resources and the reference librarian. Lastly, the future of reference technology. So first, the history of Internet. The Internet history timeline. In 1960s, the Internet as we know it doesn't exist until much later. But the Internet history starts in the 1960s. In 1962, MIT computer scientist J.C.R. Linklater comes up with the idea for a global computer network. He later shares his idea with the colleagues at the U.S. Department of Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency or the ARFA. Work by Leonard Kleinrock, Thomas Merrill, and Lawrence G. Roberts on packet switching theory pioneers the way to the world's first wide-area computer network. Roberts later goes on to publish plan for the ARPANET, an ARPA-funded computer network that becomes a reality in 1969. Over the years, the ARPANET grows. In 1970s, Robert Kahn and Vinton Cerf collaborate to develop a protocol for linking multiple networks together. This later becomes the Transmission Control Protocol or the Internet Protocol, a technology that links multiple networks together, such that if one network is dropped down, the others do not collapse. In 1980s, Dave Farber of the University of Delaware reveals a project to build an expensive network using dial-up phone lines. In 1982, the PhoneNet system is established and is connected to ARPANET and the first commercial network, Telenet. This broadens access to the Internet that allows for email communication between multiple nations of the world. In 1990s, Tim Berners-Lee and his colleagues at CERN developed Hypertext Markup Language or the HTML and the Uniform Resource Locator or the URL, giving birth to the first incarnation of the World Wide Web. A year for the Internet comes in 1995. Microsoft launches Windows 95, Amazon, Yahoo, and eBay all launch. Internet Explorer launches, and the Java is created, allowing for the animation on websites and creating a new flurry of Internet activity. 2000 sees the rise and burst of the dot-com bubble, while myriad Internet-based businesses become present in everyday life. The Dow Jones Industrial Average also sees its biggest one-day drop in history up to the point. By 2001, most publicly traded dot-com companies are gone. It's not all bad news, though the 2000s sees Google's meteoric rise to domination of the search. This decade also sees the rise and proliferation of Wi-Fi, or the wireless internet communication, as well as the mobile internet devices. The future. Since its inception, the internet has changed significantly. Every indication exists that it will continue to change in ways that are difficult to predict. As a result, it's necessary for professionals to get ahead of the trend to maximize the potential in their future career. Next is the Internet terms and concepts. According to Bill Gates, the Internet is becoming the town square for global village of tomorrow. The protocols are formal agreements on the form and style of communication to assure reliable information transfers. Protocols are rules of speech and behavior that have been codified to assure clear communication across cultural or linguistic boundaries. Without protocols, there could be no computer network because information created in one computer environment could not be used, shared, transferred, or seen by someone using a different computer. Next is the TCP or the IP, the Transmission Control Protocol or the Internet Protocol. The essential protocol for national and international network is TCP or IP. TCP or IP governs that transport of information from one computer to another independent of the kind of data. It ensures that information created in one computer will be received by another, unchanged by the process. Next is the FTP or the File Transfer Protocol. One very important protocol supported by browsers on the web is supported for file transfer from one machine to another. The File Transfer Protocol or the FTP is standard, high-level Internet protocol for transferring files. It is less well known now than some of the other web protocols because the common web browsers provide transparent support for it, typically calling it a download or a save. It also enables users at any Internet site to retrieve files, documents, data, or programs from many other Internet sites. Telnet, or the Teletype Network Protocol, is a protocol that provides a command line interface for communication with a remote device or server, sometimes employed for remote management but also for initial device setup like network hardware. It is called stateful protocol because the user's computer and the server computer maintain an active connection. Next is the client-server computing. The client-server model is another important element of network computing system. In client-server programs, the function of the program are split into two components. The client is the face of the program. It is the part of the program the human user sees on the screen and interacts with. The client accepts the commands of the user and then interacts with the server portion of the system, using the protocols incorporated into its design to translate the commands into the language of the computer informing the task. After the server completes the task, it provides the result to the client to translate them into the response and the user sees on the screen. An illustration of the client-server system is given as follows. Typically, the client program is first designed to work with one set of machines or on one operating system called the platform. Clients request a resource and the server provides the resource. A server may serve multiple clients at the same time while a client is in contact with only one server. Both the client and server usually communicate via computer network, but sometimes they may reside in the same system. For example, an online public access catalog or OPAC is an example of a client-server system. In a typical OPAC, the interface is a client program that is loaded and runs on the computers used to access the catalog. It shows the user screen with search options and help screens. Next is the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, or the HTTP, an application protocol for distributed, collaborative hypermedia information systems that allows users to communicate data on the World Wide Web. The Uniform Resource Locator or the URL. It is the mechanism used by browsers to retrieve any published resource on the web. A URL is nothing more than the address of the given unique resource on the web. Next is the proliferating resource. Proliferating means it increases rapidly in numbers. The Internet is a vast that knowing what is on it is literally impossible. It contains resources that did not exist even in the imagination 10 years ago. It is a self-determining entity that is growing and developing in many directions simultaneously. The Internet solutions. The vast majority of such aids are contained within the Internet itself. It may seem paradoxical to turn to the Internet for help in solving Internet problems, but it can be a very effective strategy. In this section, some of the most widely available systems for navigating the Internet and the web are described. Next is the Internet challenges. This section describes some of the challenges for reference librarians in using the Internet and its resources for reference. Many of the challenges of the Internet can be expressed as questions like who created the resource? How can these resources be identified and catalogued? What is the authority of the resource? How can one be sure that the resource retrieved or used is identical to the original? What are the intellectual property rights of the resource creator? And how can these rights recognized and supported? The following section identifies some solutions being developed to help librarians answer these questions. Next is the standard. The Internet and the web provide reference librarians with connectivity to a wide variety of electronic bibliographical resources. Many of these resources, such as online catalogs and indexing and abstracting services, are supported through proprietary systems developed by the vendors and suppliers. These proprietary systems require that the resources be searched using the disparate search interface provided by each system developer. The multiplicity of search interfaces is a barrier to the efficient use of the resources. Next is the public information resources. Public information resources and the reference librarian. One can envision other roles for reference librarians in the digital information industry. Some are relatively easy to identify if hard to resolve, such as the need to reach and teach the remote user of the library's resources. Others are more elusive, such as imagining and creating the new role of the library in the planning and implementation of these technologies nationally and locally. Next is the future of the reference technology. The growing body of electronic text and multimedia resources available over the Internet and the web requires a fresh look at how information is organized and retrieved. An examination of how users find and utilize information may lead to the conclusion that the traditional lines that have been drawn between different types of materials are not understood by users. Reference librarians have a vital role to play in designing and conducting the research that will inform the new system designs and interacting with system developers to ensure that the needed functionalities are built in from the start. According to John Allen Pauls, the Internet is the world's largest library. It's just that all the books are on the floor. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.